Donald Trump's former alcoholic White House advisor has been criminally charged with fraud by federal prosecutors in Manhattan. So Steve Bannon and 3 others have been arrested for defrauding donors to a fundraising effort referred to as We Build the Wall. Turns out they used the donations to that organization for their own personal use. Federal prosecutors allege that Bannon and 3 others orchestrated a scheme to defraud hundreds of thousands of donors in connection with an online crowdfunding campaign that raised more than 25 million to build a wall along the southern border of the United States. According to the indictment, Bannon and another defendant, Brian Kolfage, promised that 100% of the donated money would be used for the project, but the defendants collectively used hundreds of thousands of dollars in a manner inconsistent with the organization's public representation. The indictment said they faked invoices and sham vendor arrangements, among other ways, to hide what was really happening. And Bannon, through a nonprofit under his control, used more than $1 million from We Build the Wall to secretly pay Kolfage and cover hundreds of thousands of dollars in Bannon's personal expenses. And Kolfage, according to charges, used more than $350,000 of the donations for his personal use. Now, when Steve Bannon was arrested, he was found in a yacht and he was arrested that way. The initial reports, it's funny, the initial reports referred to it as a large boat. And later we found out that he did get arrested on a yacht. And the best part about this story is how Trump is trying to distance himself from Bannon, just throwing him under that bus. But we have some evidence indicating that Trump actually knew about this organization. Doesn't necessarily mean he knew what Bannon was doing, but he's definitely a liar in telling reporters that he knew nothing about this at all. But Cenk, before we get to those videos, I want to hear your thoughts.
Look, as luck would have it, I talked to someone. It was a private conversation, so I'm not going to come within a million miles of saying who, but talking about the same thing that I talked to another salesperson who worked in the right wing about, which is that, look, the right wing audience will buy anything. They'll donate to anything, they'll buy anything. Left-wing audiences, on the other hand, are super skeptical. Okay, like it's just a fact, right? And so, like, folks donate to our campaigns like tyt.com/go because we've been around 18 years and we've proven it over and over again. We do what we say we're gonna do, right? And you guys have seen it with your own eyes. So, but the right wing, they're like, yeah, miracle shake, yeah. What does it do? Makes you lose weight and walk on water, and it doesn't. And all of a sudden you'll have triceps as large as Cenk's, as long as we're making things up, right? Right. So
yeah, 100%.
They're an easy.
I mean, you see that kind of stuff with like, Infowars and the kind of stuff that they try to sell to their audience, like all sorts of nonsense, supplements and products like that. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so it's not just them too, it's Pat Robertson. It's the old school hucksters, right? So it's evangelical preachers. All these folks, man, if you can get your audience to not believe in science or facts, what could you sell them? So that's why they did this, and they thought, look, the world's easiest marks are right wingers, so let's just take money from them and tell them and lie to them. They're used to getting lied to. They kind of like being lied to. They enjoy it. The left does not enjoy that, and so you got to come 100% correct if you're on the left. But on the right, pilfering and grifting is their business model. So in this case, look, guys, first. The prosecutors did not indicate like that they took home all the 25 million. I want to be clear about that, for whatever that's worth, right? But in terms of what I was looking for is the details. Like, did they say, hey, we're going to spend most of the money on this, but some of it goes towards salaries? In which case I'd say, no, that's not fraud. That's, they were honest about it. No, they said 100% of the money would go towards it. And then they set up sham invoices, etc. So it was a real scheme. It was a scheme to defraud people.
Right, exactly. So for instance, they had indicated that 100% of the money would go toward the border wall, and that no one was gonna collect salaries. But Kolfage was collecting a salary. So what Bannon did was create some sort of shell company in order to hide the fact that they were paying Kolfage 6 figures, I think around $100,000, to be part of this, fundraising effort. But keep in mind that the money that ended up going toward that wall was given to a private company from the federal government. So Build the Wall originally promoted a project to build 3 miles of border fencing in South Texas, but when it was eventually built, it was built based on a government contract that was awarded to a private company known as Fisher Industries. And they received $2 billion in government contracts. Now later, there was a lot of damage because the wall was built flimsily. And so it started corroding and falling apart. There was erosion, I should say. And Trump argued that the wall was built like that on purpose to make him look bad, which is hilarious. And then Donald Trump was asked about these charges just today. And his answer was very Trump-like. He lied. So let's take a look at that.
Mr. President, what's your reaction to the indictment of your former campaign aide, Steve Bannon?
Well, I feel very badly. I haven't been dealing with him for a long period of time, as most of the people in this room know. He was involved in our campaign. He worked for Goldman Sachs. He worked for a lot of companies, but he was involved likewise in our campaign and for a small part of the administration very early on. I haven't been dealing with him at all. I know nothing about the project other than I didn't like, when I read about it, I didn't like it. I said, this is for government, this isn't for private people. And it sounded to me like showboating, and I think I let my opinion be very strongly stated at the time. I didn't like it, it was showboating and maybe looking for funds, but you'll have to see what happens. I think it's a very sad thing for Mr. Bannon. I think it's surprising. But this was something, as you know, just by reading social media and by reading whatever it is and by speaking to Mike and all of them, I didn't like that project. I thought that was a project that was being done for showboating reasons. I don't know that he was in charge. I didn't know any of the other people either. But it's sad. It's very sad.
No, this man is incredible. I mean, showboating, especially showboating on things that he hasn't even accomplished, is like his #1 favorite pastime. He does it every day, all day. He just can't stand it when anyone else does it. He doesn't like anyone else trying to outshine him. And I love how we're talking about people connected to Trump defrauding hundreds of thousands of donors. Right? And Trump's, only commentaries, I didn't like it. I just felt that there was a lot of showboating going. What? And by the way, he did know about, We Build This Wall. And apparently, according to Chris Kobach, who's the former Secretary of State from Kansas, Kobach was part of a group of people who were doing advising and consulting for We Build the Wall. And he said in a previous video that Donald Trump gave We Build the Wall his blessing, that he was excited about it, that he was in favor of it, and that he gave it its blessing. Donald Trump Jr., Trump's son, promoted it. I mean, come on. Yeah, it's amazing.
Anna, you nailed it with the focus on the word showboating. Because if you're a normal person with empathy, you go, oh my God, I hope they didn't rip off those poor funders. Remember, these are funders on their side. So if they're right-wing voters who really want the wall built, they're the core of Trump supporters. And he had zero empathy for them. Didn't talk about them at all, never mentioned it. Instead, he called it showboating. Think about what that means. That means they're doing so well, they're bragging by showboating. So that was his concern. You know why? Because he was jealous. He thought, now that's a grift I should have done. And these guys are showboating about it. Not they're ripping those poor people off, but they're bragging about how much they rip people off. He is unreal. It's unreal. And so, in terms of the project itself, by the way, guys, to my point about there isn't anything you couldn't rip off right-wingers on. They raised $25 million to build the wall. Even a tiny eroding portion of the wall cost $2 billion. What could you possibly build with 25 million? The whole thing is a scam by definition. You could barely build a fence that's, what, half a mile long? I mean, a low fence, like your neighbor's fence, for $25 million, especially with these incompetent buffoons, and let alone before they skim off the top and the bottom. So if you gave money to that fund, though, I mean, to be honest, look, I don't want to pull a Trump here, but you had it coming a little bit. That project had a 0% chance of success, and how could you not see that?
Well, there's one other element to this that I want to talk about, and it has to do with the now several people connected to Donald Trump who have faced criminal charges. CNN actually put up this graphic this morning when they were covering the story, and I absolutely loved it because it helped to visualize just how much criminality surrounded Donald Trump. Of course, Donald Trump himself has committed all sorts of crimes, including defrauding students with Trump University, using his own charitable foundation as his own personal slush fund. He used money from his own charitable foundation to buy a giant portrait of himself. I mean, this man is very indicative of the very people and the criminality that you see on that list. And so reporters asked him about that during his press conference today. Let's hear what he had to say about it.
Respectfully, sir, it's not just Steve Bannon, it's Roger Stone, it's Michael Flynn, it's Rick Gates, Paul Manafort, Michael Cohen. What's it say about your judgment that these are the kind of people
I have no idea.
And the culture of lawlessness around people who are involved in the leadership of your
There was great lawlessness in the Obama administration. They spied on our campaign illegally.
Look, squirrel. Like, it's what you always hear, not just from Trump, but also Trump voters, right? Let's immediately deflect by focusing on something that did not happen. Obama did not spy on Trump's campaign. That has been disproven, okay? I'm not some sort of like Obama fangirl. I just want people to know the truth. And so there's all sorts of criminality when it comes to Donald Trump and all his goons. And they will do and say anything possible to deflect from that matter. But luckily, federal prosecutors in Manhattan are on it. And I love the fact that we learned more about some of what Steve Bannon allegedly was involved in.
Yeah, so last two things here. First of all, in terms of Trump and his criminality, 9 top-level staffers on his campaign and his administration have been arrested. Okay, 9, okay, 9 for Herman Cain. So that is unreal. It's an unbelievable number. And so when he goes squirrel, Obama, Biden, right? He is actively trying to avoid the topic, which is he has surrounded himself with the swamp. And that's the main thing he ran against and why he won. And instantly they were like, yes, now we get to cash in. And I want to see more of that evidence at trial. That apparently they got like I said, fake invoices. They've got the money trail. They've got texts. I can't wait to see those details where Bannon and the others. We'll see in court. This is allegations for now, but when prosecutors trot out those messages to each other where they're like, oh, our audience is suckers. They're right wingers. They're stupid. They'll believe anything. Oh, please give me those texts and emails. So. He's under arrest. And by the way, $5 million bail. He's out immediately, of course. YouTube super chat. Number one, it get or 9 writes in. Cenk, you need to give the people what we want. It's a little chant starting with the word down and ending with the word Bannon. You are so right. I am so sorry. I forgot that. Down goes Bannon. Down goes Bannon. I can't wait for the conviction, and then, hey, hopefully we pass coronavirus at that point. Maybe I'll show up in person for the perp walk. That'll be great. We could escort him to prison together.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.